Hello lovelies, this is going to be a somewhat epic unboxing. I keep a little sort of discretionary fund for treats separate from the rest of my cash, and when we talked about Necromolds recently, I thought, you know what, new designer, try and do something to get kids into wargaming and tabletop games as a whole, deserves my support. So I paid too much money to have some of Necromolds imported here from the US. Apparently he's hoping to expand into Europe and the UK, so hopefully that will happen soon enough, and I hope to have the designer on either on my channel or on Two-Shirted Historian's channel to talk about Necromolds and his sort of design history and so on. But I don't normally do unboxings, I normally do reviews, but I thought I'd make an exception in this instance because it's a very visual sort of game. As you can see, it has a very sort of 90s Nickelodeon goo aesthetic to it, and I think that's part of the selling point of the game. It's the visual look. It wouldn't look too out of place in the 80s either. It's got a bit of a sort of Errol Otis sort of vibe to it as well, and Dungeon Crawl Classics wouldn't seem completely out of place when it came to this game either. So yeah, it's a war game, skirmishy sort of thing, but it's called Necromolds because you press Play-Doh into these spell books to produce monsters. That's then what you fight with. So you don't have points. You just have an amount of Play-Doh. Now the official Necromolds clay isn't in an amount that you can really get from Play-Doh or any of the other similar products out there. So if you play with something different, a different pot of clay of a different colour or whatever, you're going to have to make sure you all use the same clay to make things fair. But yeah, so this is the base box. So you get 2 pots of clay, a bunch of specialist dice, which is a pity, but I like the colours and everything on them at least, and it's probably fairly easy to translate those into tables. You have these rings, which obviously I'm into, and these rings have a sort of seal on them, and when you destroy your enemy's creature, you squish it with your ring to count as your points of victory against the others. So yeah, you get different rings of different designs. Can't really see them on the camera, but one here is a sort of spider and the other one is a sort of worm or web or something similar to that. Where did the other one go? Never mind, somewhere. So yeah, these are the spell books. Oh, there isn't a cat. It just looks like there's a catch. These are quite nice and well made. They're good little props. And what you do is you open them up. You put in your clay. You squish it. You open it up. You break away the flash, and you take out your monster ready to fight. And you keep doing that until you run out of clay, basically. So each one is a different monster or monsters. Looks like there's 2 in this one. And if you wanted to, if you really loved the design or whatever, you could always use air dry clay in these, pop them out, let them dry, and then paint them up. That might be fun for those of us who want a bit more of a permanent sort of collection. Here we have a third one. It's got the statistics and stuff on the back. So that's an insectomite, grave ghoul, and mud mumps. Yeah, these honestly could do with being a little bit more vibrant than they are on the print. You know, the box is a lot brighter, but you know, different production processes and everything. They are what they are. Let's see, tokens, rings, more tokens. Oh, these are standees? Yeah, standees for card things. So, underneath that layer of components, we have yet more plastic. The rule book, I will do a proper review once I've had once I've had time to go over it. But yeah, you've got core rules, a little storybook thing with more details and so on about the world and all the creatures and stuff. So that's fun, a bit He-Man-y. There's a little bit of a comic in there as well. You have a battle board that folds out, which is nice and grotesque. Looks like a lot of fun. Here we have these cards. That seems to be a repeat of the information on the spell books. And then this is, I think, terrain and measuring sticks for doing range and everything. So it's all very simple, graspable. You know, kids aren't going to have any problem getting into this. It says 9 and up. Now I started with Fighting Fantasy books, aged 8 or below, I think. So I don't think this would be too taxing for any kids you wanted to bring into it. And it looks like it would be a fun activity for parents and kids if you're into war games. And because the troops are all squishable, you don't have to worry about kids manhandling your your miniatures and messing them up. So you know, that's good too. I think. Reboxing, double the value, right? Yeah. Not sure how everything fit in before, but I'm doing my best. Alright, so that is the main box. But in this house, when we support new game designers, we go all in. So this is an expansion set. I think I've got basically one of everything that they've produced so far, minus the collectible items, because you can get sort of randomized packs of the rings, things like that. Those are kind of collector's items. They are plastic and breakable, so I wouldn't go around wearing them all the time. But I would be tempted to buy one if they were done in metal. Hint, hint. To go with the rest of my regalia. I would find that quite fun. It would be nice if there were sturdier rings that people could wear, so you could kind of identify other players out in the wild, that sort of thing. But there are pin badges and t-shirts and so on, so that helps. Is this an open or a slide? This is a slide. Careful, careful, because I don't want to damage it too much. Oh, there we go. This seems like overkill in terms of box protection. But hey, boxes are quite nice and sturdy. But I don't think they'll survive travelling back and forth too much unless you're careful. But they should fit in those standard board game carry bags. So we get some more dice. New spell book. This one is Blood Mump. I think we already had one of those. Let's see, we've got banners and weapons. So those, I guess, can be pressed into your creature to upgrade them somehow. A bunch more little tokens. Some empty bags. Spares in case you need them. It's always good to have spares. And we have some cards with some sort of quick reference rules and some more creatures. Do you want me to open it up? I'll open it up. What have we got? Azotopal Warrior, Gravestone Reclaimer, Perdition Reaper, Quarry Stone Guard, Insidious Gadgeteers, Forsaken Seer, Masquerade Pyro, Necrotech Contriver, Nayatakan Unifier. Yeah, and there's the quick icon reference and rules reference. So that's dead useful. And what have we got here? Oh, these are the weapons and items. So that's all the upgrades that we saw in the other packet. So, Feather Swift Axe, Grave-Kept Dagger, Crystal Sword, Stoneward Shield, Giant Sling, Fortune's Pin, all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah, it looks like that's stuff you can use to upgrade your creatures and make them more effective. So, oh, there's probably stuff underneath, isn't there? He said, having a derp. Yes, here we go. And Call to Arms expansion rulebook. How to construct all the bits and bobs. Some nice Otis-esque art. All the new rules there. I think these are character cards for... Is it for you? The Necromonsters or whatever they are. I will have to look that up. And there's some more terrain stuff there. So there we go. Again, I will read all the rules and everything properly and give you a proper review in due course. Can I get the sleeve back on without damaging it? This is the question. I don't want to damage it because the art is just great. I mean, you compare this stuff to what you see in tabletop role-playing from most companies these days, and it's just so characterful and imaginative, and they're not afraid of bright colours. I love it. Okay, what should we do next? Next biggest box, I suppose. So, here we have a monster pack with Batadactyl and Mongaragan. So this will be more spell books. Whether all of this stuff will fit in the main box or not, I don't know. I'm thinking probably not. So, for adult collectors, let us hope that there will be some sort of storage box or something on the way with expandable storage for everything. The packaging here is a lot less tough, but I guess you're not really gonna use it that much. So we get some more clay, and we get another ring. This one has a seahorse on it. And what have we got? So, Mongaragon. So that's one big creature and one small creature from the looks of it. Cool. And Batadactyl, which is some kind of flying horror of some description. So I imagine all of the monster expansions are going to be similar format. So, you know, collectible ring. Doodad, oh, there's the character cards. It's good that these have the extra clay in, because that lets you add extra players, and them having a non-standard clay amount, it's good that there are multiple ways you can get more clay rather than just the base set, because you can't order the clay separately at the moment. So that is one drawback I've spotted. But since you can substitute other clays, it's not too bad of a drawback, really. What have we got here? Lithydra and Vegetoad. You know what? I am more excited and intrigued by this visually and everything than I have been a great deal else lately. It's just so imaginative and colourful and enthusiastic, you know? And that's what I needed. More clay, kind of electric blue, this one. So we got Vegetoad, which is pretty much as you would expect. These spellbooks are so cool. And Lithydra, which seems to be some sort of insectoid creature. Ooh, and I got a glow-in-the-dark ring in this one, but unfortunately I can't make out what the impression thing is, but still, glow-in-the-dark is always cool and rad. And there's the stat cards and everything. So that's another one down. Yeah, speaking of rad, if they wanted to do different different sets, like a science fiction one, I think that could be done easily enough. You could do like a post-apocalyptic Dayglow mutant horror sort of thing. That would be fun. What do we got here? Ancropora and Sigarath. Okay. Well, you know what these things are going to be. Do I need... I may as well, I suppose. Given the size of the board and stuff, I think you'd have a hard time running a game for more than 4 players. But maybe there's ways to go off the board or to construct your own ones. You know, wargamers and role players are a creative bunch, so I think it's likely, you know, we could come up with something. So there's the cards. We've got a sort of pinkish red clay. Sigarath. It's hard to tell what he is, but apparently you can flip him upside down to make him have different powers. And we got another green ring there. And then what's this one? Ancropora, some kind of tentacled monstrosity. Speaking of tentacles, you could always do a more grown-up version. just saying. the monsters and so on might even be worth nicking for D&D or whatever else. So I think the style of the whole thing has a bit more of an OSR vibe to it, to be honest. Maybe it's tripping my nostalgia a bit. I don't know. I don't know if kids today would be into this, but I don't think modelling clay goes out of style any more than building bricks do. And to have something visceral and squishy, and the joy of actually, splatting your enemy's troops when you beat them, that's got to be worth something. Okay, we've got a nice glowy orange there. So we've got Petrapod. A lot of these creatures seem to be like fusions of animals and items, so golem-esque sorts of things. Guess that would make sense, with the clay and everything. Fungin. Hard to make out quite what it is. That's some kind of plant with dead animals and things on it. So that's cool. And like I say, I think I got just about everything that they do at the moment. Hopefully it's a success and they continue to make more. But if it is something that can appear in shops, toy stores and so on, that is going to make it a lot more accessible to people and potentially quite a lot cheaper than other war games. So I guess that's the other appeal. Dad or mum can share their hobby with their kids on a relatively affordable basis, and even use it as a gateway drug to other war games. Apparently the rules are kind of layered, so there's sort of simple rules, intermediate rules, then advanced rules, so it can kind of develop a bit along with how smart the kids are or how easily they pick things up, or if they start to get bored with the simple version of the game, so you could play the simple version with younger kids and then build up more. But they cope with the complexity of computer games, so I don't see that being an issue. So this one is Tormaruk, which seems to be a more traditional sort of golem, and this one is Gorgoden, which actually looks like kind of several creatures in one, which is kind of grotesque, but that's what we're here for. Well, I'm here for it. You know what else they need? They need like a plastic bookshelf on which you can store all your tomes, like a display case. Okay. So this one is Magmass and Cracklings. Some red clay in there, the character cards again. cracklings. Looks like little goblin-esque creatures. And you get 2 in each thing. Not all of these books are machined to the same standard. So long as the inside stays intact, it shouldn't be a problem. But I think with too much repeated use, that clasp on some of them will probably snap, which is a shame. Magmass just seems like a whole bunch of mouths. So that's fun. Yeah, so you don't point by your armies, you just have a certain amount of clay with which to create your various monsters that you then send into battle, which is a fantastically neat way around all that complicated mathematics, I suppose. Whether you can just produce one of the tiny ones with a little bit of leftover dough, I don't know. But that keeps things down to a manageable warband size, I suppose. So this is a battle box which upgrades the game so you can play with 4 players instead of 2. So what that does is it gives us another set of dice for 2 more players. I guess that's a turn marker or something. Like I say, I'll get around to a full-on review when I have time. This is just an unboxing. Oh yeah, and there's you go, more tokens. So that'll just give you enough of everything you need to add the extra players into the mix. Now that is the basic box upgrade, and this one upgrades the Call to Arms expansion for more players. So it'll be similar, but incorporating the rules expansions and tokens and doodads from the Call to Arms expansion. So once we get that off and out the way, so what we should find in here is, yeah, there's the tokens and the different dice, and yeah, more doodads to stick into your creatures. Don't forget to take those off before you squish them. Right. And the only thing left is this bag of extra goodies. So, what do we have here? Bags within bags. So here we have a couple of extra special rings. So it's green within blue, with their own unique designs. So clearly I'll have to use one of these because they're extra special. And we get these sculpting and measuring tools. The ones in the main box are cardboard, which isn't going to work well after a while. These ones are plastic, ridged, themed along with the rest of the thing. They have little wristbands. Much better, much more useful for everybody, I think. What have we got here? Is this? I honestly have no idea what this is. I'm sure it all will become clear once I look into the thing more. but it looks like it's more stuff that you can stick on and add to your creatures. We've got a glow-in-the-dark pin for you to wear to identify you as a Necromold player, so that'll be fun. I will put that in my ring container for now. Right, and then this, I guess, is where they get you. These are the collectible mystery rings. So I don't know that there was a lot of point me getting these, but there is the thrill of opening them up and seeing what you get. And so these are green within black. At least this one is. Some kind of sturge, looks like, on the ring. So yeah, you know, this is collectible. So you'll have glow in the dark or special color combinations, you know, rare and more obvious kinds. At least they're not randomizing the troops and so on, because that would be a bit crap. So the ring sizing, it's child-sized, so yeah, for adult fingers that might be a bit tricky. You might have to just stick it on the end of your finger or whatever. There's a bit of leeway and give, but I wouldn't force it because it's plastic and that will likely snap. Alright. Glow-in-the-dark spooky face one. Alright, so if you want your own rings of power and so on, if you're not in the US or at least North America, you might have a bit of a time getting hold of Necromolds just yet. It looks like a really fun game. The illustrations and everything look fantastic and fun, and there's a visceral joy, I think, to squishing creatures. I will come back and give you a full and proper review in the fullness of time, but this was just an unboxing as something fun to do. So I hope you enjoyed this marathon Necromolds unboxing, and I'll see you later. Zang. There are certain kinds of people, ale drinking people, people who did a little too much acid in the 60s, people who wear large warm jumpers and take long brisk walks in the countryside. These people maintain that fairies not only exist, but that they are very common. They also tend to believe that fairies are a countryside phenomenon, much like casual cruelty to animals, sexual intercourse with sheep, and having an impenetrable and parochial accent. This is, of course, rather wide of the mark. Fairies have always had a strong relationship with man, darning his socks, cobbling his shoes, cleaning his houses, drowning him, marrying him, and swapping his children for malformed hydrocephalics as a bit of a jape, and otherwise aiding or demeaning the efforts of man. Fairies do not need our belief to exist, they need us and the things that we leave around. Like an urban fox or the aerial rat known as the pigeon, if they survive they will have adapted to city life and found their niches, not in tending to flowers and trees, but in crashing computers, letting down the tyres on people's cars, and eating leftover pizza. Urban Fairy is a game of those kind of fairies, gone feral and urban, adapted to modern life. It's a comedy game of hijinks, weirdness and strangeness, and it almost runs itself. You want Urban Fairy Pocket Edition, which is revised and updated with better art and edited writing, and it's available from post-mort.com, DriveThruRPG and lulu.com. Ladies and gentlemen, a single bottle of Reverend Dr. Grimm's Miracle Elixir will solve your constipation, dissipation, exculpation, obstipation, extirpation, bastardization, demoralization, amortization, accusation, disorganization, bowdlerization, malversation, dehumanization, plagiarization, demonization, feminization, localization, categorization, stigmatization, monetization, pulverization, and rationalization, sterilization, victimization, infatuation, insinuation, vexation,
masturbation, perturbation, litigation, subjugation, and the French pox, or your money back, as used by the crowned heads of Europe.